final, and it's not going to be a long extended class today. I wanted to spend a few minutes making sure everybody was comfortable with what we were going to do for a final, and that was kind of my goal today. And answer any questions that any of you might have. Jonathan, you got any questions? You killed any more deer?
I've not killed any more. I haven't been hunting. I've worked. I've had a lot of work.
He killed his truck.
I killed his truck.
Yeah, actually the truck killed itself.
Well, I've seen some trucks that got shot. I hope you didn't do that to it.
No.
Okay. All right. That's all right. Well, we'll get started because you know what, the sooner we start, the sooner we finish. So, first thing, either one of you got any questions about the proposed final that we're going to take?
It's not a cumulative one. I can't even say the word.
Cumulative. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it?
It are accumulated.
Okay.
Because otherwise it would just be covering the material we talk about today.
Yeah. And according to our directions that we have from our academic VP, our finals are supposed to be cumulative.
Really?
So, yeah, we've done that. That's a direction that we got one time. So, but you know, with respect to this class, you know, we've been fairly methodical and taken a slow approach with it, and gone over a lot of this stuff repeatedly. So I don't think it shouldn't be a big item for you to prep for. It's going to be fill in the blank, mostly.
Oh wait.
What was that, John?
No, it's not important.
Okay. A lot of it is based on just information and definitions that we have. And, you know, 30 or 45-minute review, I think, would get you in pretty good shape for the final. And like I say, it's just basically a complete understanding of the stuff that we've talked about. Whether we're talking about BDACs, I don't know what BDACs is, and that they are responsible for the registration and regulation of pesticide use in Virginia. And BDACs is a Virginia Department of Agricultural and Consumer Services. And that's a wide-reaching state agency based in Richmond, but they've got people out in the state all over the place that, you know, pesticide inspectors, and then the BDAC goes into the marketing area, has marketing specialists. And, I know they've got an office in Withville, they've got another one in Harrisonburg, and I think some folks in Lynchburg. But they're responsible for the regulation of pesticides and making sure that your records are being kept properly. And your records are supposed to be kept for a minimum of 2 years. You need to remember that. You need to know what a private applicator is and what a registered tech. There's a question about the mode of action. So you want to know what the mode of action means. And that's nothing more than how a pesticide works, whether it's a contact poison or whether it's a stomach poison, that type of stuff. But that's what we're talking about with that. The textbook or the manual that we use to find a pest, and as we were talking about pesticides, you know, we need to know what the pest is that we're talking about, whether it's an insect or a fungus, or whether it's a plant or herbaceous material, whether it's a mite, whether it's a rodent. or some other type of vertebrate that we might be dealing with in our environment. And as we talk about pests, we have to do an element of scouting. And I'm not talking about Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts when I do that. I'm talking about that you're actually surveying the crops in the area that you are concerned about to see if there's any sort of damage that's being created by this array of pests that we talk about. And all of that is a component of what we refer to as integrated pest management. That's a system of control measures that we use to attempt to control pests. Talks a little bit about a threshold. As you're doing your scouting and evaluating that whether or not you've got any pests, the threshold is the level of pest population or damage that you might have that would generate an action. If you just got a few aphids on your broccoli, just a few of them, there's not enough to justify some sort of remedial action. But if you, in your scouting process, you find a lot of aphids and possibly grasshoppers, you may need to, they're beginning to damage your potential crop. So you want to be, because of this threshold.
What's an aphid?
Excuse me?
What's an aphid?
What's an aphid? How?
I don't recall hearing this term.
You've been in here for the entire semester. You haven't appreciated what an aphid. An aphid is a soft-bodied sucking insect. An aphid, they're really common on a lot of types of tender plants. During this season, people are concerned with a type of aphid that affects Christmas trees, and instead of it called aphid, it's called an adelgid. But it is a small sucking type of insect. And that's different than a mite. A mite's a little spider-like critter, but again, it's a sucking type of arachnid. See, a mite's actually a spider, a little bit of eight legs. So that's what we're talking about. They're just different types of what we categorically group together as insects. So, as we talk about this, we need to be aware of that suppression is one term we talk about, and that's a goal of pesticide control to prevent economic loss. We mentioned types of pests. Rodents are quite often a pest. I've got a real problem with rodents at this market that because it's nothing but a shed that's built on a asphalt slab, and there is absolutely no way to keep the critters out of the building.
Like being the one.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's a horrible thing. We trap and we bait, but we've got a population of rodents, and it backs right up to the woods in an area there, and we got a lot of stuff in the building that they can eat. Believe it or not, we got one critter. I have not seen it, but if we leave a ripe banana out on the shelf at night, this critter emerges and eats about a third of this banana through the peel. And I've never known of any sort of critter that would eat a banana, a ripe banana peel. But he chews through the peel and eats about a third of the banana. So I may have a monkey back here that I don't know about. I don't know what it is.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes. GoPro.
What was that, Tom?
Oh, Jonathan and I were speculating a monkey too.
Yeah, I don't. But if it was much of a monkey, he'd eat the whole banana instead of just a third of it. I don't know.
Not monkey, maybe, but
yeah, he chews right through the peel.
Oh no, it's Bigfoot. He's only part monkey. There we go.
Well, that could be, but I'd look like I'd find the opening and Bigfoot goes in and out of it. He may have a key that I'm not aware of.
Your guardrail.
Yeah. As we talk about this, you need to know the difference in dicots and monocots. We talked about that all semester. We'll talk about chronic, acute, and delayed effects of pesticides. We'll need to know the difference in an establishment number and a registration number. And we've talked about the label. You need to be familiar with what's on the label, where it is, and what it means. And
It's also the law.
really,
Maybe.
okay. Did you know that before you got here?
I did not before I took this class.
Okay, well, you may have gained something. You need to know what a restricted use pesticide is and why it is restricted.
You can't trust the normal people with it.
Well, or the abnormal, either one. We need to know what a tolerance and an active ingredient. You'll need to have an idea of what signal words are.
Signal.
Words, stuff like dangerous, caution, warning.
Caution.
Yeah.
Those are examples of signal words, yeah. Yeah. Was that something I need to answer, John?
No, that was somebody pounding on a wall on the other side.
Okay, that's fine. An MSDS sheet is a document that is different than the label, but it contains detailed information about the physical, chemical properties and the specific handling for a chemical product. We didn't spend a lot of time on MSDS sheets, but you need to know that that's a different document than the label itself. You'll need to know what FIFRA is. That's the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act that regulates registration, manufacturing, sale, and transportation of pesticides. What's phytotoxicity?
Oh, I got it. Someone testing. I got it. So I don't have it.
Don't make me laugh.
I don't know what you said, but it choked him up.
He's like, I've got it, it's right here on my chest. Ooh, I got it wrong, so no. He was all excited for like 1.5 seconds and then the bubble burst.
Well, would it help if we shared with you what that is?
I got it right on the last test I took, but I don't have it with me.
That's all right. Well, you don't remember?
Yeah.
All right. Think about the word. We're talking about phytotoxicity. So what is, if you break it down, what does it mean?
Don't phyto mean light or plant?
It talks about it's injury or damage to a sensitive plant caused by chemical exposure.
Yeah.
So if it's toxic to it, that's what it means. We need to know about solvents and volatility. Insoluble does not dissolve in a liquid. Marbles are insoluble. You put them in water, they don't dissolve. That's an extreme example, but some chemicals, some pesticides that we use are relatively insoluble, so we have to do some specialized things to those. A formulation is a combination of active and inert ingredients. We need to know what an adjuvant is. We've talked about that. Back siphoning. That was another one on another test. We talk about leaching, and that's a movement of a pesticide in water downward through the soil. If it leaches, it goes down. And that's different than what we talk about with runoff. Runoff goes across the surface, leaching goes downward. So that's what we're talking about. Drift is the movement of a pesticide in the air, the release site. A buffer zone is a strip of land that separates pesticide-treated area from an untreated area. It's a buffer zone. We need to know what organic matter is and residue. Residue is the amount of pesticide that remains in the environment after an application, or in some cases a spill. You spill something, there's usually some residue. Temperature inversion, I saw a graphic or a realistic example of a temperature inversion on Monday as I was coming to work. Smoke coming out of chimneys and levels off. That's a visual example of a temperature inversion. Temperature inversion means that a warm layer of air is trapped close to the ground by a colder layer above. You need to know what PPE is. Inert ingredients. A definition for hazard. That's toxicity times the exposure. Simple. Your hazard's not very great if your toxicity is not great or your exposure is very limited. It's one of the ways we determine the amount of a hazard. A protectant fungicide is one that is applied to prevent the development of some plant diseases caused by a fungus. That's one of the primary ways that tree fruit growers control diseases in their crops, is they'll put a protectant fungicide on. So it's there in case there is the weather conditions occur that would be conducive to an attack of a different fungus. And that's different than a systemic insecticide, because systemic is one that's absorbed and translocated through the plant or animal. If you have problems remembering that, if you think of systemic, think of system. It's part of the word. And it means that it gets into the whole thing and circulates through it. So, what does agitate mean?
Agitate?
Mm-hmm.
That means
That's what Rachel does to you. She agitates you.
mess with it, poke it,
Well,
keep it agitated to keep it from returning to a muted state.
yeah, well, mixing or stirring a solution. That's what we're talking about with agitate. You're talking about that monkey that's eating my bananas. If you're poking him with a stick, you're agitating too. There are a series of words that you need to be aware of. We may not have emphasized them at any one time, but things such as an acaricide. So what's an acaricide? Break it down again. An arachnid. What's an arachnid?
Arachnid, something with 8 names.
An arachnid is a mite, a spider, or a tick. So an acaricide is a material that controls arachnids. What would an avicide be?
Pesticide against avians.
Are you talking about avians or aliens?
Avians.
Okay, what's an avian?
Birds.
Avians are birds, right? Not many avicides. There are a few. Bactericides control bacteria. Fungicides control fungi. Herbicides control weeds. And then we've got quite a list of abbreviations, such as an A. Quite often they're used on labels, but an A would be an aerosol, a B would be a bait, D is a dust, and you get into some like a DF, that's dry flowable. But there's about 15 or 20 of those that are included on the academic exercise. And then there may be a problem for you to figure. thinking about calibration and application rates. But I basically summarized the entire exam for you in the last 20 minutes. Rachel's smiling at me like, oops. But is there anything that you got questions about that I can help you with? Anybody? Anything? John, you got anything else other than phytotoxicity? Didn't get a rise out of you at all.
But anyway, I guess you can't see the picture. Anyway, for your alien aside.
Okay, an alien side, yeah.
Yes.
Well.
But anyway, so did you have any questions?
No,
Yeah.
no.
Okay.
But I think, what's the speech content? Letters, is it acronyms or something?
Acronym, yeah.
Like the acronyms for the.
Or the abbreviations, yeah. Yes.
That's just what they call them.
Yeah.
If you've got the book, John, there is a page or page and a half of those that are listed in there.
Okay.
It's got wettable powder and soluble powder and pellet and ready to use RTU, ULV, which is ultra low volume, different stuff like that.
Okay.
If you spend 10 minutes looking at that, you'll get yourself sort of in tune to what they mean. But I don't think you'll have any issue with that at all.
Okay.
And Tom, I don't know when your exam is scheduled for. Ours here is on Thursday the 14th at normal class time, 10:30.
Yeah, today's Wednesday? Oh, yours is Thursday, not Wednesday?
Ours is next Thursday the 14th at 10:30.
That's kind of.
No, wait a minute. I may be wrong. No, it's. Let me look.
Because they usually like to have a Tuesday, Thursday exam.
Yeah, you're right. I was looking at the wrong day. It's on Monday the 11th.
And
For hours.
Yeah, we're Monday at 11 as well.
10:30.
Okay, technically for us it's 11 o'clock.
I may have already put it in an email, and I may have made a mistake on it. Did I? Okay. Well, I've got Thursday on here, but I get tangled up on what day it is. So it's just another day to work, so it doesn't matter. But we will do the hours on Monday the 11th.
Yep, we will too. So hopefully I'll have, for Jonathan and Carolyn, I'll have the grades in there. Online people, I've already encouraged them, send out emails and stuff by getting them done early.
Yeah. So.
You happen to have a picture of a study sometime?
You all got any questions? Any concerns? You're behind on a bunch.
Actual physical picture?
Like one sheet of paper.
No, a copy of it.
I mean, something cool.
Tom, if y'all don't have anything else, I'm gonna back it up.
Okay. You good?
And if Carol's got anything, have her email me if she's got a question. Okay.
Okay. That I can do.
All right.